have a lot of distance from the situation now, so I finally feel comfortable posting about it. When I lived in Boulder, Colorado, I was living in a motel-style off-campus apartment building. It was mostly students living there, and I was on the first floor. There was a large window right above my bed. There were many signs that the stalker was watching me for months before I fully realized the situation that I was in. It started with a few stolen packages here and there, a disposable camera stolen from my car, a random movie poster left in my car that absolutely none of my friends had ever seen before, and most notable, a man in a bright orange hoodie with his hood up, walking back and forth past my living room window about 20 times one day. I was on the phone with my boyfriend when I noticed him at first, and I made a comment to him about it, but I figured I was overreacting. 2 months after I noticed him for the first time, my boyfriend was out of town with his family on a trip, so I was watching his dog for him. I woke up earlier than normal to go walk her, around 6 a.m. Afterwards, I laid in bed on my phone. At one point, around 6:30 a.m., I look up from my phone and see the same man, in the same bright orange hoodie, was standing over my bed, looking at me through the window. We were basically a foot apart, the wall and the window being the only thing in between us. I was frozen in shock, and he did not leave. He continued to stare at me for about 30 seconds, and then walked away. I immediately hid under my bed and called the police. I put 2 and 2 together, and I realized that all of these coincidences were not coincidences, and he may have been coming by and watching me sleep every morning and possibly night for months. This was the first time I acknowledged him, and he seemed excited about it. The police told me to close all my blinds and to get a camera. Thanks for the help. They said this was common in Boulder, considering both the high school student and homeless population. The man didn't look homeless, though. He also didn't fit the description of anyone who lived in my building. The police officers had checked with my building manager, so that meant he was coming from somewhere else, specifically just to watch me sleep. I did as I was told and closed all my blinds. However, about 2 hours after the police officers left, he came back, banged on my window, and tried to open my door, which always automatically locked. I was absolutely terrified, called the police again, and left town to go be with my boyfriend and his family for the next few days. When I got back, I never planned to stay at my apartment alone at night, but I figured I could unpack my things, as it had been a few days, and he probably noticed that I was gone. Within the hour of me being back, he was back, and this time he held up a camera through the one crack in my blinds that I had, and held up a knife behind the camera, slowly walking by and making sure I saw. I saw, all right. Called the cops for a third and final time. They made an official police report, and I moved out of my apartment within the week. I never saw him again, but from time to time, I did check my old apartment's reviews on Google because they tried to charge me $1,800 to leave while knowing about the situation, which I thought was insane. Colorado laws protect stalking victims from these fees, though. Anyway, I checked recently, considering what the Idaho killer had been up to and how much it reminded me of my own situation. I saw a review about a man chasing girls around with a knife and the building doing nothing about it. It was from a parent, and I reached out to her personally on Facebook. The same man in the bright orange hoodie attacked her daughter in the parking lot at 4 a.m. with a knife. He tried to stab her as she was getting in her car, stabbed her car when he failed to do so, and tried to slash her tires as she started it, trying to escape. He's still out there, too. So to preference this story, I was about 15 to 16 years old at the time. It was my best friend's birthday, and she had invited about 6 of us over to play a few games, such as Mario Party, Mario Kart, Guitar Hero, etc., and stay the night in celebration of her big 16. So at this get-together, there were 5 girls, including me, and 1 boy. After a while, my best friend asked if we would like to go to the playground, which was about a 10-minute walk away from her house. Of course, being stupid teens, we agreed, not thinking about how it may be dangerous, since the majority of us were young girls, and it was currently 10 p.m. Anyways, we walked down to this park and continued playing Grounders when we arrived, which, if you don't know, is a game commonly played in elementary schools. The rules are, one person is it. The person who is it must close their eyes and try to seek the other players as they hide on the playground equipment in order to tag them. But there's a catch. If someone gets off the equipment and the person who's it calls Grounders while they're on the ground, they are then tagged. Yeah, I know, a pretty childish game, but it was fun. After a few rounds, we got bored and decided to huddle around in a circle in the center of the playground equipment. We were just talking, joking around, when suddenly I heard what I thought to be something like rocks hitting the chain link fence that resided on the back of the playground. I hushed the group. I looked over at my best friend, asking if she heard that, as everyone looked at me like I had 10 heads. She asked what I meant, and I told her it sounded like someone was throwing rocks at the fence behind us. She responded with a classical, "Ooh, it's a murderer coming to get us." Naturally, I glared at her, flipping her off. She knows I get paranoid sometimes, but I have very good intuition, and something just felt off. A few minutes later, after some more rocks were thrown at the fence, and I obsessively stared down at the area behind the fence, which was all woods besides the houses on the left and right of the playground, in paranoia. I noticed a light weaving its way through the branches of trees. At first, I thought it may be just a headlight of a car that was coming down the street that connected to the street of the park, since you can vaguely see the headlights of oncoming traffic through them. But soon I realized that there was only one light, and it was bouncing up and down like it was being held by someone who was walking. I quickly pointed it out to the group around me as we all snapped our heads over in that direction. Coming up along the side of a nearby house, on the left side of the park, was a man who wore a hat, some baggy and dirty sweatpants, and a black coat. He was holding a flashlight, not the one on your phone, but an actual flashlight. He was too far away to guess his age, even when he sat on the swings closer to the playground equipment we were on. But we all collectively agreed that it was strange, since he seemed, a guess from his clothes, to be at least mid-20s, and just came out of the woods by himself to sit and stare at a load of kids. After a brief discussion, we agreed that maybe he was waiting for a ride, or was just resting a moment, so we tried to brush the fact that he was sitting and so intensely staring at us off. However, we started to take note that after a few minutes of us resuming our very competitive game of Grounders, that this stranger was slowly inching his way closer to our group. He went from sitting on the swing furthest away to the next swing a bit closer to the equipment we were on, to the next, until he was just about 10 feet away from our game. The whole time, he just sat there, watching. At this point, all of us had noticed the strange man attempting to get closer to us, and in an attempt to remove ourselves from a potentially dangerous situation, we made a group decision to leave. Getting up, we all piled off the playground equipment, and in pairs of 2, we walked down the stairs on the side furthest away from the creepy man. As we attempted to casually walk away, I kept my eyes glued on his figure, and as we reared to the end of the street, he got up. Slowly at first, the man started to trail behind us, keeping his distance. I decided to keep my mouth shut at the time, because we were about to make a turn. I thought if he continues to follow us instead of going the other way, I'd bring it up to the others. And wouldn't you know it, the creep stays hot on our heels, not only following which turn we took, but he also started sprinting towards us, screaming,
"You motherfuckers! I'll fucking kill you!"
At this point, the whole group bursts out into a sprint. The adrenaline I felt made me run so fast I was ahead of everyone else. Everyone was ushering each other to run. I didn't even take a second to see if the others were behind me. That was until I heard my best friend struggling to run. She has pretty bad asthma. I instantly felt horrible for running off on her, so I ran back by her side, grabbing her hands and quite literally dragging her along, repeating things like, "Deep breaths, you got this. Come on, we have to go now." This whole time, the man was still running and screaming behind us and was catching up quickly. At this point, both me and another girl in the group took it upon ourselves to get my best friend moving as fast as possible, both taking a hand and running at a pace she could keep. Luckily, this park was only about a 10-minute walk from my friend's house, if even that much, and as we all piled in through her garage door, I turned to see this delusional man start running up her driveway. He got about halfway until our big fluffy savior ran to open the door. My friend's 100-pound, fully grown German Shepherd. She lurched at the man, barking as we gripped her collar in an attempt to keep her from running completely after the man. Luckily, her sudden and loud appearance caused the man to freeze in fear before running away down the dark lamp-lit street. We were terrified for the rest of the night and only managed to sleep after putting random items next to us. We even had a rake, but most comforting, our big fluffy hero, just in case the creep decided to come back. So the crazy creep who enjoys watching kids at the park and then chasing them home, let's not meet again. I'm a big fan of tea and cookies, and the convenience store near my house, a 4 to 5 minute walk, sells them. So, on the way back home from other stuff we were doing, I asked my mom to stop there so I could buy some. I'm a regular at this store, and by that, I mean I go there almost every day since 2017, and I had never seen this man before. I just walk past him, but he stops me and points to the entrance to the store, asking if that's the entrance. I tell him yes and keep walking towards it, but he keeps walking beside me and says something in another language. I thought it was Romanian since I kind of recognized some of the words in that language. I'm a native speaker, but he told me he was Bulgarian. At this point, I'm already a bit creeped out by him because I'm generally scared of everyone, but in that moment, I just thought he needed help translating. We are in Italy, so I was trying to calm myself down. As soon as we enter the store, he grabs my arm and pulls me closer to him, and I'm just screaming inside of my head, but I keep calm. I power walk inside and try to get rid of him, and when he asks me a question about bread, I just kind of try to understand what he says, since I'm still thinking he needs help. But at the same time, I'm scared. I just want to go back home. I try to lose him again through the aisles of the store, but he keeps following me. And I was scared of asking people to help me because, like I said, I'm generally scared of everyone. He then grabs me again and starts touching my face, saying,
"Beautiful, very beautiful, young,"
in Italian, and then he tries to take my mask off, to take a better look. But I just start running for my life at that point. Get my cookies, go home. I told my mom about it, and she said I should have told her earlier so we could have confronted him, but honestly, I just wanted to go home. Tomorrow I'm bringing something to make me feel more secure with me, and I'll go back there to tell whoever works there to keep an eye out for this guy, since I don't want this to happen to anyone else. You may think some of the things I did were dumb, and I completely agree with you, but I was very scared. And I barely even look at strangers, so this was completely a new experience to me. Update: I went to the store again and told a cashier what happened to me, described the guy, and she was very understanding. Apparently, this isn't the first incident either. There are 2 creeps that operate near this store, or this guy has harassed someone in the past. The cashier will talk with the manager about this, and I will from now on be careful when I go shopping there. She also told me what she thinks could have happened last night. She also saw a suspicious guy around 45 to 50 years old around here. He was just kind of hiding in that thing where the carts are kept. I also saw him, but I just thought he was smoking or something. She told me that since I power walked towards the door, I came into view of a camera, so he followed me inside to see if I was just buying something and leaving fast, so he could finish what he wanted to start, and that the smoking guy was a friend of his. This theory scared the shit out of me. Either way, I want to make something clear. When he followed me inside, I was scared but still logical. I knew what I had to do if he tried something more. He would have gotten reflex kicked in the balls, most definitely.